Welcome back to Career and Life Success. This is Unit 4, which we call Adulting 101. In the next set of videos, we are going to be covering different topics related to financial literacy for young adults as they move into their own financial independence and begin practicing money management. The topics that we are going to discuss in the next series of videos include decision making, specifically in relation to money, budgeting and spending, banking, credit, saving and investing, loans, and taxes. As we get started here, I'd like to make a note that I am not a financial advisor, and these lessons are not meant to be financial advice, but rather to introduce financial topics to young people. So, as we move on, let's begin with decision making in relation to money. So, the last note that I will give here as well, I should include, is that these videos are going to align with assignments in the course. So there are activities in the slides here that I will ask you to pause the video at and do those activities in the assignment and then come back to the video. So they're not purely lectures, they are interactive, and it is expected that you will go back into the lesson. All right, so continuing on. Day one here is about decision making and money. So to start, I want you to begin by thinking of somebody that you know in your life who you would consider to be good with money. What makes them good with their money? What is it that they do, and how do they do it? What attitudes, perspectives, skills, or knowledge do they have that makes them good with money, and how are you defining that? So if you're following along in the assignment, take a pause here and use this warm-up writing reflection in your assignment before moving on. All right, so as we think about the decision-making process around money, I'm going to walk you through a series of steps that as you practice these more and more will become innate to you, something that you'll just do naturally. But if making big money decisions is something that feels overwhelming, you can use this step-by-step process. So the first is to identify a monetary problem or goal that you have and to be very specific about it. So if you are a young person getting ready to graduate high school, some examples of that for you could be figuring out how to pay for college, which is probably the biggest money goal you could have. It could also include buying a car or a computer. It could be having a savings goal, or even using and setting up a credit card, or getting a part-time job, or saving enough money to move away from home. All of these goals are related to money in some way. So for your activity, if you're working through the assignment, I want you to begin by identifying a monetary goal or problem that you're trying to solve. And if it is something that is true and real in your life, that is best and most useful. But if you don't have one right now, pick one that seems like it could be something that you could come up with or might be faced with in the near future, and use that. Step 2 is to gather information about your problem or your financial objective. So we need to ask ourselves, what is it that we need to know to be able to make an informed decision? You might stop and make a list of things that you need to figure out for you to make a smart, informed choice. And then you need to ask yourself where you're going to procure this information so that you can then do the research to answer your questions. Is this stuff that you can find online? Are these questions that you need to ask a trusted adult who might know more about it than you? If you're buying something like a car or a computer, you're probably going to want to talk to somebody who knows a lot about those objects. So for my example, I'm gonna pretend that I am about to graduate from high school and I'm going to college, and I know that I'm gonna need a good computer while I'm away at school. So my example is gonna be to buy a computer, and if I'm going to do that, I need to know which computer I want, where I'm going to buy it, and how much it costs. So those are the things that I know I need to research before I invest in a new computer. Steps 3 and 4 include listing and evaluating all the possible alternatives, options, and solutions. So your to-do task for step 3 is To gather all of those results, all that information gathering you did from the previous step, and then list out all of your major options, alternatives, or solutions. And if this was something that was really big or difficult, you might want to write it down. In this case, for our activity, we're using our assignment sheet to do this. Step 4, once you've listed all of your options, is maybe to highlight or underline the 2 best options from the ones that you've listed. And for each, you might create a pro and con list. Or go back and revisit your preferred decision-making method that we discussed back in the beginning of the year when we were discussing goals, and use that method to evaluate each option. So let's say for our sake here that my options are to buy a new Dell from Best Buy and it's going to cost me $850, or I could buy a refurbished Dell computer that's a couple years older but is significantly cheaper and will only cost me $500. Of course, there were way more options than this, but maybe based on my information and what mattered to me, those are the 2 options that I've decided are the most realistic. So now I'm working with these 2 and creating a pro and con list for each. Step 5 is to choose a solution and an alternative. So based on that pro and con list, based on your values and your needs, which one came out on top? What will you do if for some reason your first choice doesn't work out? What is the best choice? And do you have a strong why? And what's your backup plan? What's your plan B? So, when we're talking about decision making strategies, I want to pause here, and you might need to stop the video because this is rather wordy, but I think it's really, really helpful to be introspective about how you make decisions. And in our case, you could use this list for any type of decision making, but I want you to use it in terms of making money decisions. So, which of these strategies do you use more than others? What's the hardest part of the decision making process for you? And can there be more than one solution to a problem? So, these different traits kind of give us an idea about how we might approach decision making. Things like spontaneity. Are we compliant in our decision making? Do we procrastinate making decisions? Do we agonize over too many choices? Do we go based on desire, the thing that we want the most? Do we avoid making decisions altogether? Security is choosing the option that involves the least amount of risk. Or do we synthesize? Do we take all the information, synthesize it to determine which result will be the most successful for us? Maybe we use multiple of these. Maybe we use different ones in different situations. So pause for a second and think about which of these is your go-to decision-making strategy. Step 6 and 7 is to take action and then review your progress. So the rest of this unit is going to focus on all the financial knowledge that you need and the actions that you can take to make your financial goals and decision making a reality so that you achieve the results that you want as you are moving into becoming an independent adult. So this action and review process, we're going to go deeper into those aspects, step 6 and 7, as we look at these different topics specifically. So for wrap up, I want you to go back through the topics at the beginning of the video, or using your own knowledge, I just want you to identify yourself which personal finance topics would help you best achieve the money problem or goal that you set for yourself today. Whether it's one that you're genuinely facing or one that you think you might be facing in the near future, which of those topics back at the beginning of the video is going to help you be successful at achieving that goal? I ask you to do that just so that you can be looking forward to what you're going to learn next, but also so that you can take what you're going to learn in those videos and perhaps apply them somewhere in your life. It's going to be a lot of information and you might not use it all right now, but thinking through and projecting forward, what is one thing that you might be able to incorporate into your financial life now, or rather soon? Okay, thanks for listening, and I'll see you for the next video.